you very much indeed for the opportunity to say a word. Firstly, welcome to everybody here. This is your House of Commons as well as our House of Commons. And it's right that you come here to debate the issues that matter to the Tamil community in this country. I've been a Member of Parliament for nearly 30 years. I hope I don't look as if I have, but I have been a Member of Parliament for nearly 30 years. Like other colleagues, I don't have a huge number of Tamils in my constituency. That's not why I've taken an interest in Tamil issues. I have very few indeed. But as a human rights lawyer by profession and a liberal by political conviction, I'm clear that the Tamil people in Sri Lanka have suffered from institutional prejudice for the whole of the time since the independence of Sri Lanka now half a century ago, and that the terrible events of the last decade have not yet in any way been put right. With many of you, I spent many days and nights out in the square at the time of the Civil War and the Civil War coming to an end. And what was clear at that time was that in the end the superior military force of the government was able to intervene and was able to repress the LTTE. What was also clear from dialogue at that time with the United Nations, with the American administration in New York, in Washington, where I went with Tamil sisters and brothers, with the European Union, where we organized for people to go to talk to the Foreign Affairs Commissioner in the European Union, and conversations with the Commonwealth here in London. What was clear from those events was that there was not any effective international organization that could protect Tamil people against their government if their government decided to turn on them. And there's a fundamental failure of international law that still allows the sovereignty of the state to be all dominant and the right to protect to be put aside. When the UN wanted to drop food and rations and medical aid, they were often told they could not do so. And when organizations like the Red Cross and others sought to do so, sometimes they were prevented. So there was a terrible situation of inequality. And it's clear to me now, as it was then, that during that time there were war crimes. I'll be direct with you, they were committed on both sides of the equation, on both sides. They were committed by the LTTE and they were committed by the Sri Lankan government. But the most relevant issue in international law is that governments, elected democratic governments have a higher responsibility than other people to make sure that they obey the law, and a higher responsibility to make sure they don't commit crimes. And what has not happened since then has been an independent ability to assess and deal with the war crimes committed against whoever committed them, whether they were government members, government employees, armed forces on behalf of the government, or anybody else. And we're here because we believe that wrong needs to be righted, and the work that's been done independently, the report commissioned by the Secretary General of the UN, needs to be followed up by independent action. The all-party group which Lee chairs and which you've had referred to had its most recent meeting with the relevant minister in the Foreign Office only the other day. And across all the parties in both houses of this Parliament, we are determined to make sure our government goes on making the case both for proper inquiry and then proper legal action against those who committed war crimes, but also goes on making the case for a Sri Lanka where everybody can have equal rights irrespective of faith, of background, of colour, of creed, or anything else. Of course there's a debate for a Tamil homeland, of course there is. But the precondition to any such engagement is that every single Tamil is free to go to Sri Lanka, to travel where they wish to visit where they want to go, and to go back to their villages or towns if that's where they came from. And just one last thing, Chair. One of the tests for me of how civilized a country is is where the international organisations and charities and the press are free to go and report what happens. And until Sri Lanka has press freedom at the levels that we would expect in our country and other countries, until there is a change from the position where they're at the bottom of the league table nearly globally in terms of press freedom, I don't think people can be confident that the regime is understanding the nature of the change that has to happen. So we're here to pledge our support to you and to each other to continue the work. We know there is much more to do, and the current agenda item that's at the top of our list is making sure that the investigation continues by the UN human rights body in Geneva, that the progress reports are implemented, that we don't take our eye off the ball, and that we hold the Sri Lankan government to account nationally and internationally, not just for this generation, but for future generations of Tamils, both in Sri Lanka and here. So I hope you know you have support here, but not just passive support, regular, active, proactive, engaged support from colleagues in both Houses of Parliament. And what you're doing is gathering together, as it were, to decide what messages, what activities, what organisation you have for the future, I hope will be seen to and felt to support you on a regular basis as much as you do us.